I'll try. First of all, I apologize I didn't get real prepared for this, and plus I thought I had 30 minutes instead of 20, so we'll see how it goes. If anything, I'll have a good train wreck and make Adam Dorn, that follows me, look really good as a presenter. So how many people are currently using Survey123 or even experimented with? I know David, I talked with him a little bit. Nobody has messed with it. Collector, using collectors, what most people are using? Okay. The big difference probably between collector and Survey123 is Survey123 is more a form-driven than collector is more of a map-driven. And you can make much more complex forms. It uses the XLSForm standard, which allows you to create your forms in Excel and then push them to what they call XForms, which is an XML format. And Survey123 reads that. And it does it pretty cool. And I've kind of new XLSForms from I was using Open Data Kit for some projects. I was using an open source mobile data collection. So it's made up of, Surveys Collect is made up of three parts, I should say. It's got the Connect application where you author your forms and create them. It's got an application that can run on your tablet, your phone, Windows. It runs on all the major operating systems, Android, Windows, Linux, iOS, doesn't matter, to submit your data. And then it uses ArcGIS Online for the back end where your data is stored. So with that, my screen's a little messed up, but we'll see what happens here. So this is the Survey Connect software. You can download that from ESRI. It looks like this. If you want to create a new survey, you would just click on this. And I got a few surveys in there. We're going to try to create one. I don't know if we'll get all the way through my survey or not. But when you click on this, what it does is it pulls up a wizard, and you got a chance to kind of look at the advanced template they have and the basic template. Basically the same thing. Is going to create a spreadsheet to create your form. The advanced one has much more options, and that's one we'll use, and we'll look at some of those options, definitely not all of them. You can also look at sample forms. This is a good place to start. This will show you all the different appearances that can happen within your forms, autocomplete, barcode scanning, how you calculate your locations and all kinds of stuff. So you can load these forms and look at like what was done in here, cascading selects. This is one of the reasons I use XLSForms is for cascading selects. It's pretty cool. I use it in the damage assessment application I have. So it picks the WEM region. And then once you pick a WEM region, it only shows you the counties within that WEM region. You pick that county, it only shows you the municipalities in there. And when you're filtering through a long list like that, it really makes it a very efficient way to kind of filter yourself down. There's also some samples that are in the ESRI community, REST forms, crop. They got a damage assessment one in there, some municipal stuff. And again, some of those are good to look at just to get examples of this. If I was signed in, it would see my surveys here. So I currently have a few surveys in here. We'll hopefully get a chance to look at some of those. But I'm going to go back up to the templates. I'm going to select the advanced one. And I'll just call this Mug Demo 1. And we'll create that survey. So what it does is it opens two windows, one that is previewing the form and one showing the spreadsheet. And I'll go with Candace. This is going to suck without having two monitors. Let me see if I can do some rearranging here. So in the standard format in Excel, they've done kind of a nice job because they got little pop-ups kind of explaining what each field is across the top here, and we'll go into some of these. But these are, it'll explain what it is, and they even went as far as having pull-down menus to pick your different types of fields that you would add to your forms. So it makes it pretty simplistic to fill out and create a form. The Choices tab down at the bottom here is where you have choices like select one, select many, and they got some samples in here of what that would look like, and we're going to do that stuff. The settings is where kind of you can set up your title of your form and stuff like that. This last tab is more just informational. It'll list all the different field types that are available currently in the form, and they continue to add them and change how they're done. But it's you know, this is a pretty new program. It's probably only been out of beta for maybe like a year. But it pretty much describes if you have like the username field, if they're logged in ArcGIS Online, it's going to automatically log their ArcGIS Online account. Start, stop, repeat groups, all kinds of fancy stuff that you can do with the forms. So much more complex than what you'd use in Collector. And so you can see right now, they just have a text field, the field name in the database is example, and the label you see is example. So it's previewing the form back here, and you see it here. And so if we change that first field to something else, like, we'll leave it there and we'll call it first name. And this is the label they will see. And if I save that, it's saying calculating, rendering, and it'll put it back. And so it automatically will display the way your form will look. And like I said, you can add different types of fields. So we'll add an integer field, and we'll call that age. And we'll go how old. I know my survey is not really appropriate for municipal stuff, but just to get an idea. And you don't have to save this. I mean, if I saved it again, it would render it. We could do it, but I'll stop doing it after this one just so you get the idea, so we can put them in there and look what they're in there. So it's going to add that second question right underneath it there. And so then one of the other fields that I use a lot is this select one or select multiple, but I'm going to select one. And the way that works with the choices tab, I'm going to move this up a little bit so you can see. And we're going to call this type. The field name is going to be type. And then we're going to say, which one do you like? So since we got to select one, and we're calling it type, we got to go over to our choices tab and add that over here. So type. And we're going to do two types. We're going to have one called beer and one called wine. And so what you happen here is this is the type field. We could add more types if we want to add other things, water, whatever, soda. This is the name that gets pushed to the database. So you can see in the ratings example, they're just pushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the person seeing stars, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, so forth. So like typically if I was doing this, but I'm trying to do it fast, I might have like capitals here or, capital for beers or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and save that again. And now you'll see we have those two questions and we have a select one on the beer and the wine. Right? You guys all getting that? Exciting stuff. All right. So then we'll go back to our spreadsheet here. And we're going to go back to our survey. And our next question is going to be, we're going to do a select one again. And we're going to call this select one beer. And I'm going to select one wine. And I'm going to call this one beer and this one wine. And we're going to say, what beer do you like? What wine do you like? Oop. And since we created 2 more select ones, we need to go back to our choice tab and add those. So we're going to have I really don't drink beer anymore, so I'm not up on my beer types anymore. But I got, I guess, ales, lager, stout. And wine. I'm going to call that. Okay. Not even sure if I spelled that right, but it doesn't matter for this purpose, I don't think. So now you can see we end up having which one you like, beer, wine, you know, but to me that kind of looks kind of weird. So we can go in here and make relevant choices. So if they select beer, they'd only see this one and not this one. If they select wine, they'd only see this one. And there's lots of other things you can do with it, and we'll pull that up here. And I minimize my little thing down here. So if we look at these tables, there's lots of different fields as we come across here. So we're looking at this one here, and you'll see the fields moving across the top, and we're looking for the relevant one, which I think I passed. Right here. So, I'm gonna be on the right one. So in here we would put dollar sign. And one thing good is if you look at all the examples, and even if you click on the little help thing, it gives you kind of the syntax. But we want to look at that type here equals to beer. And for this one, we want to look at it equals to wine. And if we save that, if I select beer, the beer type comes up. If I select wine now, the wine stuff comes up. So you can see how you can make this much more simplistic and do things that are pretty neat, and it's pretty easy to do. So I'm going to go up here where I left this empty spot, and one of the fields you can make is a note field, and I'm going to say under 21. And the label is going to be you are not old. You are not 21. You should not. All right, so that'd be what they get. And we're going to go over here to the relevant on that one and say if the age field or the age question, then they should switch it to water, is less than 21. So another thing I'm going to do, because it's going to kind of mess with the survey, I'm going to put a default value of 21 in my age one. Just I'll show you why here in a second. So right now you can see the way the survey is rendered, and it's here. So if I go ahead and would put my name in here, which I don't have to do, but if I did, and I said I was 18, and I hit enter, it'll say you're not old enough to drink. It throws that out there if you need to, as a warning. Oop, wrong one. So another thing we could do is we could go over to the relevant and change. We're running out of time here. I think I'll skip some of that stuff. So I'm going to add an image field if you wanted people to take photos, for example. So we'll say image, the field in the database, we'll just call it photo 1, and we'll say take a picture. Right. And if we go over here, under the little hint here, you can add little hints for them. What you want to do, we could say smile at camera. Most of you guys like to collect your location, so there's a geopoint field. I can just use the pull down here. And I'm just going to call that field GPS. Collect your location, right? I'm going to do another image, and I'm going to say picture. And I'm going to say draw me a picture. And in that case, if you go over to the column that has appearance here, and we change that appearance to signature, it creates a widget that you typically would sign. I just said draw a picture there. So I'll save that. I think I'm going to skip some of the other stuff, but I want to show you what we get going here. It isn't really where I thought we'd be at this point. But you can see the survey starting to fill in now. You can make any of the fields required, so if they don't answer it, it won't validate. It'll say you got to go back and answer that or fill that question in. Here's the picture one. You can take a picture, it'll fire up the device on the camera. It's like this, see? I could go into modeling if this doesn't work out for me. The capture of the GPS, I don't have any place set. I don't know how this will work on here, probably not. But you can zoom into it too. This laptop doesn't have a built-in GPS, but let's just say that's where we want it to be. That's good, beautiful. Down here, like I said, this one allows you to draw a picture or your signature, or whatever. So you kind of get the idea of there. Now, if this was on a screen, you could use a stylus to have somebody sign it. And they got lots of examples of how they use these different, I'll just call them widgets or appearances and how things are there. I'm going to jump ahead. And so within the Connect application itself, you end up with, you can look at your schema and see what your fields are. The settings stuff, which I apologize, I'm not going to have much time to get. This is where you can add a thumbnail for your survey. You saw those sample ones with like the little picture of the cop and stuff. So you could add something like that. You could add a description, test demo, or whatever, and some other information that they would see. You can stylize and set your home spot for your map. So as you zoom in, if we knew we wanted the people always to kind of be centered on Wisconsin or whatever, once you can set that as a home thing. You can change decimal degrees or degrees, minutes, seconds on that. The images is when you're capturing pictures, if you want the program to crunch down the file size or not. If you're sending these pictures over the air, medium works pretty good. You go to small, you go to large or unrestricted if they have devices with a high resolution camera. It could clog things up. Here you can customize the layout and look of like the background colors and all that in your form. You can also do it another way, which I'll show you quickly. So let's say we like the way our survey is. We got our styles. We're all done. I'm out of time.
We just get less of a break.
What's that?
We just get less of a break.
Less of a break. Yeah, they'll kill me on that one. All right. So what's that? Keep going. So once this is done, let's say we had everything the way we want, you push it up to the cloud, and it'll give you some warnings, because we found out, and I'll show you what we did for the city of Wausau's fire department, and they end up coming back and saying, let's change a few things after they collected like half their records. Real careful with that kind of stuff. But even with ESRI on the phone, and ESRI saying we could do it, it blew it all up. But so you'd publish that survey. You can you can share that survey with other people in your organization. You can have groups, whatever is in your ArcGIS Online account. It'll create that survey. It says it's published. So here's the app itself running in Windows on my laptop. You can have it on your device. You can download it from the Play Store or the iOS store. And I'll go and download that survey. And here it is up on top. And now it's sitting in here, and I can go ahead and start collecting information in that survey. And I won't fill this all out, you get the idea. Line, you know. And I can send it, and I can send it later if I don't have a connection. I can send it now, and then go ahead and send that one. Now, I didn't collect the GPS, so that one wouldn't map, but you got to get the idea of how that works. I did want to show you a couple things real quick, just to show you some other examples of what you can do. So here is the Excel file that I created for the City of Wausau's Fire Department. They're doing a structural risk assessment, and I believe a lot of other communities are doing. David's community is looking at doing it. And so here's the Excel spreadsheet. You can see it looks a little different because I just did it on the fly. I didn't use ESRI's thing, but you kind of see it here. And one of the things I want to point out is ESRI's survey allows you to hard code standard HTML tags right in here. So all these are going to come out bold, for example, in my survey when I load it. They had a lot of like how-to things, like a lot on each one of those questions. So that's in my hints thing, and I needed line returns. So I got line breaks. You can do whatever. I got a background color. So I just want to show you what happens. You can actually just take that Excel spreadsheet and drop it on here, and it'll import that and make that survey. Pulls up the same spreadsheet we're just looking at. And here, here it is, and it might be hard to see. So like you can see where I got the blue background and some of the helps. You see where I got my hard line return, so this stacks in the form, makes it look prettier, things like that. Because I don't really understand the stuff on the form. That was part of the problem we had with getting it right for them. They weren't real clear either. And the funny thing is, this is a question that they want to change and required to be changed, and there's only 3 guys collecting it, so it made no sense to me. 1,000 feet is what their hose is, but they wanted that to be 800. And I'm like, well, you already collected half your stuff, just leave it. We'll know that in the end, and we'll just fix it. Because the hose isn't straight, it winds around, and 800 is the length. But I'm like, really? And it blew out all the pictures that they had attached to all those other ones. We were able to pull those records off of ArcGIS Online and look at them. So if we look at the surveys here, here's a real simplistic survey that I created just to show you kind of what the back end of Survey123 looks like. It tells me I collected 6 records by 1 user, and these are the dates I started and finished, or the last one came in. It kind of does some little quick summarizing of the data. You can analyze it on the fly, and this stuff is live as the data is collecting and coming in. So I had wanted to say, like, select the building and collect the GPS or something like that. So this is how many commercial buildings I collected. You can switch it to pie charts. You can zoom to the map, which I'd never set a home thing for this one, but they're in Wausau somewhere here. No, they should be in there, way up here, if I get to Wausau. So you'll see them sitting in here. Here's your data, what it looks like. You'd have all your records come in that were collected here. You can click on them, it zooms around to the map. It creates a feature class. You can share that feature class. You can pull it right into ArcMap, and it's live as the data is being collected and put in there. I was just going to quickly show you the fire department's, what they collected and what it looks like from the City of Wausau, and then I can go to break, I guess. Anybody got any questions? I bet.
Are you associated with a feature, an existing feature in ArcGIS Online service?
Like have that data in the background too, is what you're thinking?
Like say you're going to a parcel and you wanted to populate the parcel number.
I don't think so. And right now, currently with this version of Survey123, and they said it will happen in the future, unlike Collector, where you can re-edit that data and sync it back, once you send it, it's there, it's sitting on the server. You can go edit it on the server. But what's interesting is that, you know, when you're in Survey123, you get that kind of dashboard interface with the summary. When you go to ArcGIS Online, that feature class is sitting in your ArcGIS Online account too, and there you can edit it and change the attributes, but in that Survey123 currently you can't. And there was some stuff in that Survey123 interface that are grayed out. You know, when you click on it, it'll say, well, that feature's coming, or, you know, or it's not complete yet.
Is this a free?
Well, I mean, if you're an ESRI shop, sure, and you got some ArcGIS Online credits,
Okay.
sure. You know, ooh, that didn't seem to work. Yeah, wait, I gotta go to this one. He's got his not sitting in that one. When ESRI blew it out, it doesn't sit in there. Yeah, so you'll end up using your ArcGIS Online credits as you're sending records up to them, but most people that have ESRI license. Yeah. Fire person one. Trying to log into somebody else's account.
My password.
1, 2, 3.
Password.
ABC.
Any other questions while I try to struggle through this?
Does it work with ArcGIS Server?
To send the data directly to your server? Is that what you want to do?
Instead of using ArcGIS Online, using ArcGIS for Server?
I don't think so, but it looks like one of those grayed out tabs in the one. Man. It's weird. Let's sign out of that one. It looks like you're going to be able to provide a URL to your server and send it there at some point, but right now it doesn't.
So you have to dump your geodatabase up there first, make your
No,
form.
you don't need any data there. You're creating that data from your survey from that survey. It's going to create the feature class once you publish it. It'll be sitting in ArcGIS Online. You can export it to a geodatabase shapefile or just leave it there and access it through your ArcMap, or you could have it populating on
Data directly back into my database at the desktop.
Yep.
Because they made it a shapefile.
Yep.
And now I've got my manual database here. And
Yep.
And I'm I'm hazy over here.
Well, it's sitting there and it'll be live as you're editing it in ArcGIS Online. If you pull it out of there, it's going to be a static snapshot of that.
Yeah.
So the city of Wausau, when they're done doing their structural, they're going to pull it out of there when they're done. Right now, they're still editing it. And what they're doing, which is somewhat interesting, they have 3 people out there collecting this stuff. They're trying to collect it by the end of the year. They got to inspect all the commercial structures and give them some sort of rating based on how much of a risk they are. Some of the inspectors know a lot about, they can fill in about 80% of those fields. So they have a cache of those iOS tablets. They're filling them in the field or at their desk. It's leaving them sit on that record, and then they send the guys out to finish those records. Because some of those guys out in the field don't know what the truss structure is of this building, but they know. And so they're putting it in there. And if they don't, they're fixing that stuff online. They're fixing that stuff online, on the backside. If I can get logged in here, I can show you that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, once I'm bringing that stuff back in, whether I'm doing an add data, whether it's a duplicate of my manual stuff and I'm just deleting mine and putting theirs in. I'm not sure.
I would think if they're out there inspecting manhole covers or something would be the example, you would have that as background information and updating your main manholes. If they've said, well, that's a broken one or clean, I'm not a municipal guy, whatever they're doing out there in that form and the inspections. If you look at some of the inspection stuff they have, forms that are currently in there, that might give you some better idea too of the questions and how they're doing it. And I think last time we talked to Dan, which he said he was going to come here and talk about this, but he was sick. They had 500-600 of their commercial structures already inspected or something like that. But But on any of these within your ArcGIS Online, I can edit these things right here. So I can edit these, and it's giving me all the same pull downs that that form had as I was in there. So if you're looking under, if I wanted to change this one, those are the same ones that got pushed over from that form I created. Already in there, they're sitting in there. Better click off it before I wreck something. But, and even, even here, they could start adding them to this if something got missed or deleted. You can add the feature class right in your ArcGIS Online. Your data's here. You can export it from there to, like I said, multiple different formats. Definitely didn't have time to cover what I want. Go ahead.
When you take your survey out to the field, is it standalone or do you need data connection?
No, it's standalone. You do need to have a connection to download it to your device. But once they're out there, those records will sit on that device. So like the fire example, they have 3 or 5 tablets. The guy's filling out like 5 or 6 on that tablet and telling the guy, you go get those and go get those. So they're out there and seeing what theirs. Another thing is kind of interesting with this stuff, if no one's using like Workforce or Navigator, it kind of builds into this whole suite. So you can actually have it so you're tasking orders out. And if you got a data connection, you can actually ping and see where your guys are out in the field and say, go fix this or go take care of that. And you can put that into the Workforce, and there are obviously additional charges for those add-ons to ArcGIS Online.
I presume this is just a feature service. You can create collector apps to go back and, like if you wanted to review in the field what the data has been collected an hour ago, as long as it's synchronized.
Yeah, imagine you could do that. You could pull the stuff that somebody collected with this. But I would think that, Collector probably works better for some of that editing and manipulating of the data from the device to it. I think this one will get there. This one, I would say, if you got a more complex form that you want to simplify and make look prettier, nothing against ArcGIS Online Collector, this is probably the way to go. It's more form-centric on the creation of the app. And what I like about it, too, it runs on all the major OSs and devices. It runs on them all, Linux all the way down. So if anything you got a call center that wants to start adding stuff, they could do it from that form, from the application like this itself. That's sitting on their desktop. If they got laptops in the vehicles, they could do it. They don't need to pull out a tablet. It's kind of nice. Anything else before I wreck your whole break?
So it only pushes edits, it doesn't actually pull down new edits?
It does not pull new edits down. All your edits would have to happen on the server side. But they said that's going to be out in future releases so that it'll sync them back and you'll be able to do that. But assume, again, just like Collector, you'll need a connection to make all that happening to push it back and forth. And it works really efficient. It's fast to create forms. Once you kind of get used to those columns and stuff that are there, it's neat to create forms and customize them and make them look pretty. Anything else?
Does it handle related tables?
No. You could relate stuff to it afterwards. You could have, no, it doesn't. There's you can do some preloading of data. There's a ability to upload a CSV file. So if somebody put in an address or a PIN that was in that CSV file, it would preload that information. That you could do. And again, that gets preloaded when you got a connection. So if we got 100 records for manhole covers and they got IDs. If they put that ID in for that manhole cover, it would populate it with the stuff that was in that text file, that CSV file. And you can even do that CSV file for preloading like the cascading selects. If you look at the one I'm using for, he's going to kill me over here probably pretty soon. So here's the one I use for the damage assessment. So you can see my cascading selects. This form gets very large because there's like 100 or 1,000 or 1,500 different municipalities in the state. But here's my WEM region. So when it selects them, then it goes down and only grabs the counties within the East Central region and so forth. And then it steps it down, to this. So this form here takes a little bit to load because it's got all this stuff, in my choices tabs. And they typically recommend if you have something this big that you would put that in the CSV and preload that in the background. I didn't on this case, but let's see what was there. Any other questions? Go on break then.